Hi, this is a little video I'm making about a computer I've been playing with over the last couple of years called a Sage 2. Sage 2 was once at the leading edge of personal computing and now it isn't. It's based on a 68000. It has some dynamic RAM, it has a floppy disk controller, there's an optional board you can get for it, or could get for it, that enable you to run more serial ports and more memory and a hard disk. I haven't got one of those extra boards, but I'm going to tell you about them because it's got some incredibly interesting design features. So this little video is like an introduction to the machine and some of the things I've been doing, and then in later videos I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. Okay, here's a little tease for you. This is the lid of my Sage 2 computer. When I bought the machine, I took the lid off, and ever since there's always been something I've wanted to play with that's needed me to have access to the hardware, and so the lid has stayed there since purchase. So here's the thing itself, my Sage 2 computer. If you look on the front panel, you'll notice that it says Sage 4. Well, I think that's a 4 in sort of Roman numerals. This could never have been a Sage 4 because a Sage 4 is roughly twice the height of this, and it has a hard disk mounted on the front panel and a load of serial ports on the back. Anyway, it's a Sage 2 even though it says Sage 4 on the front. I suppose the key things about this machine are that it was fitted with 256k of dynamic RAM soldered onto the main motherboard, and then another 256k of dynamic RAM in sockets. There's your 68000, and over here you can't see them too clearly. We'll go into this in a later video, but there's a pair of EEPROM sockets, and that held the EEPROM monitor program, which enabled you to inspect memory, disassemble bits of program memory. You could boot a floppy disk, boot a hard disk if you're lucky enough to have one, and again we'll go into that in more detail in a later video. Sticking out the top of where the EEPROM should be are a pair of EEPROM emulators. These are fantastic devices. I change the contents of the EEPROM, periodically, perhaps every month or two, and but those EEPROM emulators have been on continuously for a couple of years, never let me down. Really good. The expansion board, again if you're lucky enough to have one, would plug on using these pair of connectors here, and in a real Sage 4 it would sit across the top area, as I say, in a much larger case. On the back panel, which you can't see at all really, down here, there's a GPIB bus header, and as far as I can tell, nobody's really done very much with that. There's a pair of serial ports and a couple of switches that you can use to set the boot configuration of the machine. There's a nice little reset button, which I've had occasion to use more than once. Then on the far left over here, you can see an expansion board I've been working on. This has got a megabyte of static RAM. It's got an IDE interface for a little IDE hard drive over here. It's got a parallel port. Yeah, so we'll talk about that again in another video maybe. On the front panel, there's a couple of things that look a little bit like, well, a lot like floppy disks. Neither of these things are original. when I bought the machine, the floppy disks just didn't work reliably. So this little guy on the left came out of a BBC computer, and this little thing on the right, I call it a Gotek. It's a floppy disk emulator though, and between these two devices I've managed to rescue most of the software that was supplied with the machine and put it onto a little USB memory stick that plugs in here, and in doing so I've avoided damaging the very sensitive 5-inch floppies. Something else worth mentioning is that when I got the machine, the power supply was in a bad way. It was a switch mode device, and it output about 4 volts on the 5-volt rail. I had a go at at repairing it, and it electrocuted me quite badly. My bad. But I'm here to tell the tale, and I'm going to tell you about it in the future. So the power supply is way back over here under this PCB. The other thing worth mentioning, it's really interesting actually, is that there are 4 white plastic standoffs there, and when I got the machine, there was an interface for a thing called a Pluto graphics board, and try as I might on eBay, I've not managed to get hold of an actual graphics board. I've only got the interface from the Sage to it, but I might talk about that in the future because it is really interesting what happened in the old days. Okay, so I think that's about it really. Well, if you've made it this far, well done. Thanks for watching. I'm just going to pop a few links on the screen, assuming I can figure out how to do that. And maybe if you're interested in the Sage 2 computer, you might take a look at those links just to give you a feel for the background to the machine and the company that made it. It is pretty interesting actually. And I'll be back shortly with some more content-rich videos. Thanks.